Hey everyone, Cap from TCG Break here, bringing you my Invoked Shaddoll deck profile for the May 2021 format. This is a very solid Tier 2 and possibly Tier 1 deck, and offers two archetypes that mesh rather well with one another. So with that being said, without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with the main monster lineup, I'm of course playing 3 Alistair the Invoker. Alistair has the effect when it's normal summoned or flipped face up, where you can add one invocation from your deck to your hand. It also has the very useful quick effect, where you can send it from your hand to the graveyard and target one fusion monster you control, and it gains 1000 attack and defense until the end of that turn. Alistair is one of your best starters in the deck, and the Invoked engine in general offers a great amount of recursiveness in order to set up a fairly formidable board on your first turn, whilst also having the ability to play in the mid to late game with ease. And starting with the Shaddoll lineup, I'm playing 2 copies of Shaddoll Wendy. Wendy has the effect where if it's flipped face up, you can special summon a Shaddoll monster from your deck in either face up or face down defense position. Also, if Wendy is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon one Shaddoll monster from your deck in face down defense position. Wendy is one of the best targets to use for your Shaddoll fusion, and helps you gain relatively free advantage overall. Continuing with the Shaddoll lineup, I'm playing 2 copies of Shaddoll Hedgehog. This has the effect when it's flipped face up, where you can add one Shaddoll spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Also, if Hedgehog is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand. Just as with Shaddoll Wendy, this helps you gain free advantage through the use of your fusion spells, or simply helps you get into your Shaddoll engine via your spell or trap cards. I'm also playing 2 copies of Shaddoll Squamata. This has the effect when it's flipped face up, where you can target one monster on the field and destroy it. This is a great interruption. For example, you could set the Squamata, and if your opponent tries to attack over it, you can simply target the attacking monster and destroy it. Also, if Squamata is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send one Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. And as for the one-of Shaddoll monsters, I'm playing 1 Shaddoll Ariel, 1 Shaddoll Beast, and 1 Shaddoll Dragon. Ariel has the flip effect, where you can target one of your banished Shaddoll monsters and special summon it in face-up or face-down defense position. This works rather well when played in combination with a card such as Shaddoll Incarnation. It also has the very powerful effect where if it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target up to 3 cards in either graveyard and banish them. So Ariel is your in-archetype DD Crow for 3. Shaddoll Beast helps you further draw through your deck, as it has the flip effect where you can draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card. Also, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card. And lastly, Shaddoll Dragon serves as a great interruption, as it has the flip effect where you can target 1 card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. Also, if it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target 1 spell or trap on the field and destroy it. And to round it out, I'm playing the 1 copy of Performage Trick Clown. Trick Clown has the effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Performage monster, such as itself, and special summon it. Its attack and defense are 0, and you take 1000 points of damage. This is a great target to bring out your El Shaddoll construct, or perhaps an Invoked Mechaba, whilst also having the ability to recur it from the graveyard. Onto the hand trap lineup, I'm playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. This is a fairly versatile hand trap, and is rather effective against most matchups, as it allows you to quick effect discard it from your hand, and negate an effect that would add a card from the deck to the hand, special summon from the deck, or send a card from the deck to the graveyard. Continuing with the hand trap lineup, I'm playing 3 copies of Psyframe Gear Gamma, and the 1 Psyframe Driver. This is great in this deck especially, as even if you would happen to draw into the Psyframe Driver, it's not necessarily a brick, as it may be used for fusion material for either Mechaba or El Shaddoll construct. And to round it out for the hand traps, I'm playing 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This is especially helpful against decks that heavily utilize the link mechanic, such as Dragon Link, as it allows you to special summon it from your hand when your opponent special summons a link monster, and you are then able to dig deeper into your deck by drawing cards equal to the number of link monsters your opponent controls, plus 1. Then you are required to shuffle back cards from your hand to your deck equal to the number of link monsters your opponent controls. Moving on to the spell lineup, I'm playing 2 copies of Invocation. This allows you to fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand as fusion material. Though if you are summoning an invoked fusion monster, you may also banish monsters from your field or either player's graveyard as fusion material. And you're also able to easily recur Invocation from your graveyard, as it has the effect in your grave where you can target one of your banished Alistair the Invokers, shuffle Invocation into the deck, and add Alistair to your hand. Continuing with the Invoked spell cards, I'm playing 3 copies of Magical Meltdown. This essentially acts as 3 additional copies of Alistair the Invoker, as upon its activation, you can add 1 Alistair the Invoker from your deck to your hand. It also has the very useful effect where the activation of your cards and effects that fusion summon a fusion monster cannot be negated, and your opponent is unable to activate cards or effects when a monster is fusion summoned via your activated effects. I'm also playing the 1 copy of Terraforming, as this acts as your 4th copy of Magical Meltdown. Onto the Shaddoll spell cards, I'm playing 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. This allows you to fusion summon 1 Shaddoll fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. It is also very useful going second, as if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can also use monsters from your deck as fusion material. I'm also playing 2 copies of El Shaddoll Fusion, as it allows you to fusion summon 1 Shaddoll fusion monster using monsters from your hand or field as material. This is especially useful, as in certain situations, you may draw into a hand of multiple Shaddoll cards, which more often than not might significantly slow down your plays, or may otherwise feel rather bricky. So El Shaddoll Fusion helps to get some of those monsters out of your hand, and possibly further gain advantage off of their effects in the grave. Continuing with the fusion spell lineup, I'm playing 3 copies of Super Polymerization. This is a very powerful card, especially in our current meta, as certain decks such as Dragon Link are very difficult to stop without the use of significantly impactful hand traps. So Super Polymerization is able to easily break their boards, as it has the effect where you can discard 1 card and fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either field as fusion material, and neither player is able to activate effects in response to Super Polymerization. As for the one-ofs, I'm playing the 1 copy of Called by the Grave and 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Called by the Grave helps you protect your plays from hand traps, such as Ash Blossom, and Foolish Burial is an excellent starter in this deck. And as for the trap lineup, I'm playing 1 copy of Shaddoll Incarnation and 1 copy of Shaddoll Schism. Incarnation has the effect where you can target 1 Shaddoll monster in your graveyard and special summon it in either face up or face down defense position. You can also banish Shaddoll Incarnation from your graveyard and either change 1 face down defense position monster you control to face up defense position, or change 1 face up monster you control to face down defense position. This allows you to easily utilize your Shaddoll flip effects and allows for a great amount of flexibility in your plays overall. And Shaddoll Schism allows you during the main phase to fusion summon 1 Shaddoll fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials from your field and or graveyard. Then you are able to send 1 monster your opponent controls to their graveyard with the same attribute as that fusion summon monster. Now moving on to the extra deck, I'm playing 2 copies of El Shaddoll Winda. Winda is unable to be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and it also has the effect while it's face up on the field, where each player can only special summon a monster or monsters once per turn while it's face up on the field. And pretty much all Shaddoll fusion monsters have the following effect, where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Shaddoll spell or trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. I'm also playing 2 copies of El Shaddoll Apocalone. Apocalone cannot be destroyed by battle, and it also has the following effects, where if it's special summoned, you can target 1 face-up card on the field and negate its effects. This, when used in combination with Shaddoll Schism, is a great interruption on your opponent's turn. Also, if Apocalone is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Shaddoll card from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and then discard 1 card. Continuing with the Shaddoll lineup, I'm playing 2 copies of El Shaddoll Construct. Construct has the effect when it's special summoned, where you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard. Also at the start of the damage step, if Construct battles a special summon monster, you can destroy that monster. And similar to Winda, if Construct is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Shaddoll spell or trap in your grave and add it to your hand. Onto the Invoked fusion monsters, I'm playing one Invoked Purgatrio, one Invoked Ogoides, and one Invoked Mechaba. Purgatrio is effectively your in-archetype Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, as it's able to attack all monsters your opponent controls, and it gains 200 attack for each card your opponent controls. Also, if Purgatrio attacks a defense position monster, you can inflict piercing battle damage. Ogoides has the effect where if it's special summoned, or if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. You can also once per turn banish one fusion monster from your graveyard, and Ogoides gains attack equal to that banished monster's attack until the end of your opponent's turn. So Ogoides can certainly help to end games and possibly OTK your opponent. And Invoked Mechaba is a great Omni Negate, as it has the effect when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, you can quick effect send the same type of card that was previously activated from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and banish the activated card. And as for the Super Polymerization targets, I'm playing the one copy of Mud Dragon of the Swamp and the one Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Mud Dragon requires two monsters with the same attribute but different types, and your opponent cannot target it or monsters on the field with the same attribute as Mud Dragon with card effects. And once per turn, you can quick effect declare one attribute, and Mud Dragon becomes that attribute until the end of that turn. And Starving Venom Fusion Dragon simply requires two dark monsters. It has the effect where if it's fusion summoned, you can make it gain attack equal to one of your opponent's special summon monsters until the end of that turn. Also once per turn, you can target one level 5 or higher monster your opponent controls, and until the end phase of that turn, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon's name and original effects are replaced with the targeted monster's name and original effects. Also, if Fusion Dragon is destroyed, you can destroy all of your opponent's special summon monsters. Moving on to the Link monster lineup, I'm playing the one copy of Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden. This serves as a great way to get Alistair into the graveyard in order to fusion summon using Invocation, for example into an Invoked Mechaba, and we will not utilize Artemis's effects in this deck. I'm also playing one copy of Gravity Controller. This requires one non-Link monster in the extra monster zone, and serves as a way to easily get your Shaddoll fusion monsters into the graveyard in order to activate their effects. Whilst Gravity Controller is in the extra monster zone, it cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster in the main monster zone. It also has the rather useful effect at the start of the damage step, where if it battles an opponent's monster in the extra monster zone, you can return both that opponent's monster and Gravity Controller to the deck. So this effect allows you to easily recur Gravity Controller to your extra deck in order to possibly further utilize it in the turns thereafter. I'm also playing the one copy of Cross Sheep. In this deck, we are primarily concerned with its effect, where if a fusion monster is special summoned to either of its arrows, you can special summon one level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard. I'm also playing the one copy of Predaplant Verte Anaconda. This is rather useful in this deck especially, as you're able to send one fusion or polymerization, normal or quick play spell from your deck to the graveyard, and Anaconda's effect becomes that spell card's effect. So for example, you could send a card such as Shaddoll Fusion or El Shaddoll Fusion to bring out an El Shaddoll Winda or El Shaddoll Construct. You could also possibly send the Super Polymerization in order to break your opponent's boards, as it also has the effect where you can target one face-up monster on the field, and it becomes a Dark Attribute monster until the end of that turn. And that rounds it out for the extra deck. Now moving on to the side deck, I'm playing 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. This is very useful against the Dragon Link matchup, as well as the Mirror match, as it has the effect, if a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, you can quick effect send Droll to the graveyard, and for the rest of the turn, cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to the hand. I'm also playing 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. This is great against the Dinosaur matchup, and can also be rather useful against the Shaddoll and Invoked matchups, as it has the quick effect where you can tribute it from your hand or face up field, and for the rest of the turn, neither player can banish cards. I'm also playing 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. You are able to side this in against many of the combo decks in our current format, and though it may not outright stop a Dragon Link player's turn, it may significantly dampen the power of their end board. As for the back row removal, I'm playing 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster and 2 copies of Twin Twisters. I'm playing Twin Twisters in favor of a card such as Cosmic Cyclone, as it allows you to get material into your graveyard to possibly use for your Invoked or Shaddoll fusion plays. And to round it out for the side deck, I'm playing 3 copies of Evenly Matched. This is a great blowout card going second, and has the potential to severely hinder certain decks, such as that of the Eldritch matchup, as it has the effect at the end of the battle phase, where if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can make your opponent banish cards from their field face down, so they control the same number of cards as you do. And if you control no cards, you can activate Evenly Matched from your hand. So this has been my Invoked Shaddoll deck profile for the May 2021 format. As always, if you enjoyed the video and would like to see more like it, feel free to give us a like and subscribe. Feel free to leave any suggestions regarding changes you would make to the deck in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, until the next one, have a nice day.